Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Common Magician, and I've got several things to show you, actually. Several interesting things to show you. I've got a deck of cards here, and I've got a die. We'll get to that in a minute. I just want to demonstrate the cards are regular cards. Everything is on the up and up. What we're going to do is we're going to give these a good shuffle, a very a fair shuffle. I could have you shuffle them. We're going to divide the deck in half, and this is important that we do this fairly. You always want to bury the bottom and the top card on your riffle shuffle. So we'll shuffle once like that. In fact, we'll do this again, divide, and we'll bury the top and the bottom cards again, just like that. And what I want to do here is we're going to roll the die, and I'll let you give that a roll. You can see we end up with a 6. It's a 6. What I want you to do is I want you to pick a color. Actually, you got red, you have black, and we'll use something to choose this here. I've got a coin. Heads is red, tails is black. Heads is red, tails is black. So we'll flip it, and this would represent your choice. Tails, which is black. I don't know if you can see that there, but you did select the tails, okay, the eagle. So we'll go with the black 6. What I want you to do is I want you to take the cards and just deal down from the top, face up right here, and the first black 6 that you come to is what we'll use. Go ahead and deal out. You can deal the cards. And the first black 6, which is this one right here, the 6 of spades, and you can see that there's another 6. Everything else is in here. Very fair. Okay, so we have the 6 of spades is our card from a shuffle deck that was in use there. Fairly selected number, fairly selected color. Everything has been fair on the up and up. Now I have this box has been sitting out in the open the entire time. Been sitting right there. And if we take a look inside, we'll see something interesting. We find 6 of spades. Perfect match. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you, was this little prediction concept here. We'll set these aside for a moment. I've got another deck of cards here, and I also have an envelope. We'll get to that in a minute. Just set that down. What I want to do with these cards is the same thing. I want to make sure that everything is fair. We're going to give it a good shuffle. So again, we'll cut this in half. Again, burying the top and the bottom card. So we want to make sure we bury the bottom card, bury the top card. We'll do it again, in fact. And what I have in this envelope is actually a piece of art. It's a piece of art. It's a picture. It's a portrait, in fact. What I want to do here is have you make a few decisions. Could you choose for me red or black? Red or black? We'll do this again just to keep this fair. So a red, again, will be the head. Black will be the tail. I don't think you can see this well, but we'll do it anyway. So red is head, so redhead. Red. And now we have, what is it? Hearts and diamonds. Hearts and diamonds is what we have there. So we'll say hearts is head, diamonds is tails. So we'll have you flip again. Tails is diamonds, I think is what I said. So hearts was heads and tails is diamonds. So we have a diamond. What I want you to do is I want you to deal down again from the top. And the first diamond portrait card, picture card that you come to, will use that. Go ahead and deal down. And the first diamond picture card we come to. So here's the first diamond picture card we arrived at. We have the Queen of Diamonds. You can see, again, completely fair. There's the Jack of Diamonds right there. Everything else is in order. But we arrived at this one from a shuffle deck, Queen of Diamonds. And again, I've had this envelope sitting out here in full view, and I just want to show you what we have inside. If we open up the envelope, you'll see that we have an interesting picture. Absolutely empty, nothing else. Queen of Diamonds, perfect match, another prediction. So we have Queen of Diamonds, Queen of Diamonds. Again, just a little demonstration there. Let's do one more. We'll do one more demonstration for you, and we'll need just a few cards here. And we'll take take these ones. I think will work out fine. And we'll just set these down. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards to choose from. Doesn't really matter how we got to this place, but we have these cards. And again, we will use our die. Okay, so we have a die. And have you go ahead and give this a roll. And we come up with 2. 1, 2. So we'll count. 1, 2. And you will end up at the Joker. You can see here that we have spot cards, picture card, and right here, 2 where you rolled is indeed the Joker. So a number of different ideas. They relate a little bit with the use of the die. We'll get to that in a moment. But what we're dealing with here is some more forces from Animan. Now, there are die forces, number forces using dice, some of them using gaff dice. We're going to probably talk, if this series keeps going long enough, we'll probably talk about some of that stuff. We've been dealing mostly with card forcing. Some of the card forcing we've dealt with can be used for number forces, because you can force spot cards that can be added up or whatever the case may be, can be arranged, prearranged. But eventually we'll get to the book, parts in the book where we're dealing with number forces, and cards are not part of that. We'll be using other kinds of strategies to find or have the spectator find the numbers that we want them to. Very useful for book tests. There'll also be ways to force pages in a book for book tests and things like that. A lot of different a variety inside of the Animan book. But for now, we're going to deal with just a couple of ideas and where they kind of mesh together as we find them in Animan. So let's take a look at each one of these in turn, and we will see if we can learn something new that maybe you haven't seen before. So the first idea I want to demonstrate is actually demonstrated twice. I showed you 2 different ways to approach this concept. It's a force on a card from a deck that is shuffled. And not only shuffled, but it can be riffle shuffled by the spectator. Whether or not you want to do that is up to you, because a lot of spectators can't riffle shuffle. It does matter that they get riffle shuffled evenly, that they're riffle shuffled, rather well, not, a really haphazard kind of, big steps and chunks and things like that. But it needs to be a fair shuffle. One strategy for getting a relatively fair shuffle is to do Leonard Green's Rosetta Shuffle, where you take the cards and you just spin them out, make kind of this little rose design. These don't really fan that well, these plastic Copags. At least not right now, they don't. But you can do this, and then anybody can push these together. You can kind of get them started. Then they mesh together. And this simulates essentially an even riffle shuffle. So that's one strategy that you can use if you want to try some of these things and you're afraid of the riffle shuffle. Personally, I find that if I just do it myself, particularly if you do the proofs, right? If you do a riffle and then you demonstrate that everything is there, you can have the spectator push them together to verify that everything is shuffled, just to make it fair. So this is a strategy for forcing something out of at least 2 riffle shuffles. And here's how it works. There's a couple places where it's mentioned inside of the book. The first force that we're going to do is for multiple outs on 6, on the 6 card. So I had a 6 of spades was sitting in the card box, a spare, but I also had an out for a 6 of hearts. It was sitting right over here, just in case red was the color that we had to go for. So I have a couple of outs there to work with. I can reveal either one of those. So what I need to do is have my 6 of spades and 6 of hearts set up to force, depending on where the spectator is counting from the deck after the shuffle. It's very, very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to take out our 6s. So we'll look through here and find our 6 of hearts, 6 of diamonds. We need to get all of them, because not only are we going to set up our 6s for the force, but we have to set up the 6s that we don't want to have interference with. And you could do this very generically. If you just take the 6 of hearts, and we're going to place it on top of the 6 of diamonds, and we're going to place this on the face of the deck. You could do that. What I did is I actually put a couple of cards in between. So I had 6 of hearts, 2 cards and 6 of diamonds, and that will just ensure that they get separated on the shuffle. There is a potential that even in 2 riffle shuffles that maybe those 2 cards would stick together and would kind of reveal the method a little bit. So then on the top, we're going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to have the 6 of spades on the very top, 2 indifferent cards, and then the 6 of clubs. So what I have here is I have the 6s out on the fringe of the deck. My force card is all the way at the bottom. My force card is all the way at the top. At the end, when I count from the top, I will arrive at my 6 of spades as the first black 6. On the other hand, if red is the color, the first red 6 I'll arrive at will be the 6 of hearts if I spread from the face, okay, at the end of the shuffle. Now, I had a little bit of a subtlety in there. I cut the deck, and now I know that in the spread, right dead center, I have a 6 of hearts, 6 of spades. So just a little bit of a subtlety here. Spread the cards, demonstrate that they're all mixed, and then as I pick them up, I use my handy-dandy spread shift. So I just put my thumbnail down on the heart to push off the 6 of spades. I collect the bottom stack with the heart on top of the other stack, which now has the 6 of spades at the top, and I'm ready to do my riffle shuffling. So follow along with me here. If I cut this in half, in the book, it talks about particular forces using like a key card of some sort. They talk about Animan talks about a short. So you can divide at the short and then riffle shuffle. And you might even have the force card next to the short card in the middle, so that when you bury the top card, you're actually bringing the force card up to the very top from the center. I don't think that's necessary. I think that if you know where the force card is at and it's starting on the fringe, you should be able to just go straight into this, maybe after doing a couple of false shuffles before you get to this point. But I'm going to cut, and we're going to bury the bottom card only a little bit, bury the top card only a little bit, and we want to do a fair, even shuffle. So we're still keeping our force card very close to the top, very close to the bottom. You can spread to show this. So you don't want to lay a big bed, and you don't want to have a big chunk laying on the top. Then we're going to do the same thing again. So my 6 of spades is still the first black 6, and it is still relatively close to the top. If I cut this again, it should put it a little bit further down, and my other black 6 will get pushed even further into the deck at the end of the shuffle. So again, I'm going to bury the top and the bottom card, but I want to bury it only under a couple of cards. I don't want to have a big bet in there. So I cut off, I put down just a couple of cards, and then I bury the top under just 1 or 2 cards, and then I put this together. Now, they can get to the number that I want. Now, the way I did this is from Animan, is using force dice, so using some kind of a loaded die. This is not loaded in the sense that many people think about it, where there'd be a weight that causes it to land at a certain spot on average more than another spot. This is actually a topper. This die, this isn't the only die I used. I actually used a regular die for the next, the last effect that we looked at there in the demonstration. But this is set for 4, 5, and 6. So it's got a 4 on this side, and then on the opposite side it has a 4. It has a 6 on this side. It has a 6 on this side, and then it has a 5 on one side, and then a 5 on the other side. And whenever I roll this, what I need to do is I need to get a 6. Another idea from Animan, if you're going to use a die that has maybe an option or two that you don't want, you can have them roll again to demonstrate that the die is normal, that it comes up different. That does 2 things. First, it cancels out the incorrect number, and meaning that you won't use that one. If it rolls that one again, you'll have them roll again. You can't roll that same number again and then use it. So you eliminate the number that is undesirable, and it allows you to get the numbers that you want. I need this to end up at a 6. It's 1 chance in 3. Pretty good that if you have them roll at least 3 times, you're probably going to hit the 6. In the demonstration, I hit it the first time. So we'll roll it, and we hit a 6 first time. So 1 chance in 3, that was it. If this came up as a 4, I would say, and just go ahead and roll that again just to demonstrate that we get different numbers every time. And we roll it, and oh, it's a 4 again. Why don't you roll that again, because I don't want you to think I'm using a loaded die. 4 again. Why don't you roll that again just to make sure, right? And then 6. So we hit 6. Now you could hit the 5 in there. The probability is pretty good. 1 chance in 3 that after a few rolls you would get it. If you got 4 and then you got 5, you could roll it again, and then you've eliminated 2 until you hit the 6, right? So either way, I'm going to get what I want. You may kind of scoff at this idea, especially using a regular die, which we'll get to here at the very end. But this is another thing. I always relate things, I always relate tricks and methods to what has shown up on Penn and Teller, right? There are other magic shows out there, but Penn and Teller, right, Fool Us, is the one place where you get pretty good magic. There's very rarely do you get something that's kind of shoddy. Every now and then you get something that maybe the magic, magicians look at and they say, well, it's a little obvious for Penn and Teller. But really, almost every act that's on there is a pretty well thought out fooler. The general community, the normal spectator, everybody else that you ever perform for, including most magicians, won't see through a lot of the things that you see on there. This has been used on there, actually, and when it was used, as I recall, it was a couple of years ago, and I don't remember who it was, and I wouldn't want to say the name anyway, but they were using dice, and they were using this probability scheme, and it was funny because they were really testing the odds. It kept coming up bad, and they had to go really to the ends of the probability that they needed to hit what they needed to hit. And it was pretty humorous knowing the method, watching kind of, it wasn't the apocalypse kind of scenario, but it was getting kind of close, right? And of course, Penn and Teller knew what was going on. But this does work, right? So 6 is what I want. Now I'm set up. I want them to pick a color, black or red, head for red, tail for black. They can just choose tail is black. I say go ahead and deal from the top. This is my force for the black card until you hit the first black 6. They deal down until they hit the first black 6, and I hit it right here. And then you can show the other cards. You can say, here's another black 6 over here. You can see other cards, everything's mixed up. And then you do your revelation from wherever you have your out. So that is one. That's one demonstration of it. Here is another demonstration of really the same idea, but it's a little bit more complex. I can use more outs than that, right? This is actually demonstrated in Animan using picture cards just to force the first picture card. And the way it is demonstrated is, let's say that you want to force the King of Spades. What you would do is you would put the King of Spades at the bottom. I actually need to get all of my picture cards out of here, so let me pull them all. And what you do is you put all of the other picture cards on the top in a group, and then your force picture card on the bottom. So now I'm set up with all of my picture cards sitting at the top of the deck, all number cards down here. My force card is sitting directly at the bottom. Now I'm able to do 2 even riffle shuffles. If I shuffle this twice, burying the bottom card, burying the top card, very even, can demonstrate that it's even. And I can do it again. I can do it at least one more time here. Again, cut approximately halfway, bury the bottom card, bury the top card. I shouldn't have lost my picture card on the bottom. I should still have my King of Spades. Oh, looks like I did it. So you got to be careful with this. Another strategy might be to do this. The suggestion that they give in there is this way, but actually probably the better way would be to pull all of your picture cards and put them together, which is more like what I do in my example. We'll try this. This is why the shuffle needs to be very even. Maybe if you're working with a chunk of cards that's this large, because it is 13 cards. It's actually it's 1 full quarter of the deck, right, is what we're dealing with. If you're dealing with a group this big, you might want to just stick them all together, right, at the very bottom. And then what you can do is, if you're controlling it, you can riffle deep or shallow, whatever the case may be, to ensure that you don't mix up cards. So we'll take off a small pack over here, and I'm going to drop first my bottom card. So I'm cheating a little bit. I've dropped my force card down here, and then I'm going to do it again, this time dropping down there again. So now what I should have is my King of Spades is the first card that I run into. Okay, so you're just grouping things in one side of the deck to ensure that in multiple, at least one or two shuffles, you can't have an overlap. There's a lot of shuffling principles that work this way. If you've ever heard of the Gilbreth principle, that is a principle that deals with probability in shuffling a specific number into a specific number, given that there is a specific order. If you ever want to learn about that principle and how it can apply to magic, particularly with certain stacks, it works really well with like size Stebbins. It's cyclical. You can look at Max Maven has done a lot of work on the Gilbreth principle. It's a good place to look. Now, to the effect that I did, here's what I did. I have 4 outs. 4 outs. I have the red queens, and then I have the Jack of Clubs and the King of Spades. So I've covered all of the suits. Okay, I have King of Spades, Jack of Clubs, Queen of Diamonds, Queen of Hearts. Now, there's a few ways that you could organize this. I found that the most surefire way to do it after a couple of experiments, so you don't run into the issue of overlapping, was to take, in my case, I put the clubs and the diamond at the top. So my top card is going to be the Jack of Clubs and then the Queen of Diamond. My bottom card is going to be the Queen of Heart, King of Spades. So bottom is going to be Spades and Hearts, top's going to be Clubs and Diamonds. And then what I want to do is I want to stack my Clubs and Diamonds with my Club and Diamonds at the top. So I'll lay these up here, and then my Hearts and Spades will go with my 2 other Hearts and Spades at the bottom. And then I also did put an indifferent card between these, just to ensure that they don't clump together. So I just kind of separate out these, at least these first 2 cards, my first 2 force cards, from the rest. So I've got Jack of Clubs, Queen of Diamonds at the top, indifferent card, and then the remaining Clubs and Diamonds, so that they don't get mixed in. Then at the bottom I have Heart, Queen of Heart, King of Spades, indifferent card, and then the other Hearts and Spades at the bottom so that they don't get mixed in. Now I'm set to do my force. So whenever I do my force, I will cut cleanly so that I have even groups. I can bury the bottom card by 1 card or 2 cards, bury the top card, very fair, even shuffle. And then I can do this at least 1 more time. If I do this 1 more time, I shouldn't really harm my stack in any way. And now, no matter what they call, I will arrive at one of those 4 cards, depending on where I tell them to start looking. So remember, I have diamonds and clubs at the top. My force card is the Queen of Diamonds, Jack of Clubs. On the bottom, I have spades and hearts. My force cards are Queen of Hearts, King of Spades. Now, my force cards are in a force envelope. So the force envelope is a 4-way out envelope. And I have this sitting right here. And I have it oriented. This is not a very good forcing envelope, but it's sufficient for this. It opens up from 4 different sides. It opens a flap here, it opens a flap here, opens from this side, it opens from this side, and I just created this using a few different envelopes, putting them together, working out that puzzle sort of formation that you need for this kind of an envelope. Depending on what is called, I will force it from the deck that's been shuffled, telling them where to look, and then I will open up the force envelope, the 4-way envelope, to that prediction. Pretty simple. So I have King of Spades is in this one, Jack of Clubs is in this one, Queen of Hearts is on this side, Queen of Diamonds is on this side. So we'll go through it. This has already been shuffled. We'll take a coin here, red and black. Red is heads, red for head. Hearts and diamonds. Heart is head, diamonds is tails. Heart, Queen of Hearts. So I need to get to this side, so I just pick up my envelope and I put my finger in to separate it. I pull the flap out, and then I will pull out this card at the revelation. To force it, I know that my hearts and spades are on the bottom, and this is good that it's different from the presentation. What I do is I have them look at the face, and then you can spread and find the first heart picture card that you run into. The first one that's a heart. Sure enough, the first heart picture card you run into is the Queen of Hearts. And you can see the next picture card is going to be the King of Spades. These are my two forces. And I would have the same kind of situation at the top. First club picture card I run into is the Jack, which is my force. And then the first diamond picture card is the Queen of Diamonds. So those are all of my outs inside of my four-way out envelope. And that's how that is done. For the last effect, this is a very clever, kind of moves all the way into the dice category. This one uses a regular die. Now, Anneman suggests this one of two ways. You can use either a regular die, or you could use a topper like what we were using here a moment ago. I like the idea of using a regular die. I think that the regular die is completely sufficient for my needs and for the potential that you have to throw off the scent, right? What you want with 4 cards is you want to make sure that they don't get a 1 or a 4. They can get a 2, a 3, a 5, or a 6. So you have 1 chance in 3 that they hit a number you don't want. We already know how to deal with that, though, right? If they roll the die and it's a 1, you say, you can see it's a normal die. Go ahead and roll that again just to make sure that we get different numbers each time. And I get a 3. Now, there's a potential that I hit the 1 again, but remember the premise of what I'm saying. Make sure we get something different. So if they roll a 1 again, it's kind of funny because now it looks suspicious, but it really is a regular die. No, go ahead and roll that again. I just want to make sure we get something else. Now, you could hit a 4, but remember now that the odds have changed a little bit, that you hit a 4, because you could hit the 1. You could hit the other ones, right? It's still a 1 chance in 3 that you hit what you don't want, but one of those chances is removed from the equation because the 1 has already been rolled. And of course, right from the onset, you have 2 chances in 3 that you're going to hit a number that you can use. In this case, we hit a 3. Here's how you count it. 1, 2, 3. The force card is always the second from either side. You just have to know which one. And these are number cards or a picture card. This is the Joker. Okay, so this is where our force card is at. That's 3. Let's say they roll something else. 4 is a bad one. If they rolled a 4 from the beginning, you would say, just roll that again to make sure that it comes up different. No, really. Roll it again. Make sure you get something different. I don't want you to think that this is a trick die. Good, very good. You have a 1. Roll that one more time just to make sure that you can get all the options around the table, right? No, 1 again. This is how it went on Penn and Teller, right? It was this kind of a thing. And then you get a 6. Here's how we deal with 6. To count 6, you're going to count around, right? You're going to go down and then kind of ping pong back is the way it goes. So if we count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're going this way. 2 and 6 go this way. 3 and 5 go this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Comes back and you hit it. 3 we already did. 5. 5 and 3 go this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And 2 we already know from the presentation. 1, 2. 1 can't be used. 4 can't be used. I highly recommend that you do not use O-N-E. Don't do it. Okay? I have done that with spelling effects from a deck of cards, but it's different to use 1 and 2 spelling outs to get to the 4th card when you have a card that has to be at the 4th card that could otherwise be called to a higher number. It's one thing to do that when you know that the other options could be 34, right? And if you spelled those out, you'd get wildly different numbers. But when you're dealing with such a small range, don't use the hot rod spelling outs. They're not that great. If you want to know my solution for the hot rod, look on my channel and I cover a solution using a different, not colors, but different images, different symbols, and a way to accomplish the forces that way. And if you have to use the spelling outs, you can, if you have to. But anyway, that's it. So 1 and 4 are no good, or you can just replace the 1 and the 4 with other spots, which is what Animan suggests. So just replace the 4 with a 3, replace the 1 with a 6, and then you've got a forcing die that gives you only what you want. That looks pretty fair. But anyway, clever way to use a die to force. So regular die, regular cards, and just with the management of the roll, and the proofs that you use, you can use a regular die and regular cards and still get down to that. You can come up with a routine that is based on that, 4 options and a 6-sided die rolling. So that's what I've got for you here. A couple of more, kind of fringe concepts to force. Shuffling using a preset stack where you have a wide margin to shuffle into, and the stack that you need to have does not get shuffled out of order. It maintains its order. Be careful again if you're using a stack that is, as I demonstrated there, that is the size of a quarter of the deck. This is really for smaller stacks. You want to try to use smaller stacks. In fact, if I was going to do that picture card force that we were looking at, what I would probably do is remove probably 4 picture cards, get them out of there, and just leave a few in there as a throw off. But I would remove some of them, stack them all up on one side, or stack the oddball ones on the other side of the deck before the shuffles. Would probably be a better way to do it. So anyway, that's it. That's all I got for you. Good luck with that. Happy magicking.